Hi, everyone. My name is Ramki. Welcome to Weekend Wellness Series, Season 1, Series 16. Um, Basically, we have had so many good presenters go on with different topics, starting from, uh, posture. All the yesterday was Dr. David Green. He went on with, stem cell regeneration. So, with that being said, I would take an opportunity to thank all the presenters for their time and efforts, and all of you guys, to make yourself available for these. Once the presentation is over today, we will put it on Weekend Wellness Facebook page. You can share it with your friends and family. And that being said, today's topic to me makes an important one because this is like on CPR at home. Basically, your first 8 minutes after you see your loved one or your neighbors or anybody being unresponsive, you can be a hero by saving their life. I have here Derek Walters, who is a good friend of mine. He's also the founder of Lasting Compression, CPR RVA. And Derek actually does hands-on CPR, as well as he's a OSHA trained therapist. And little background about Derek: he's a registered nurse with a clinical background as a chemotherapy certified oncology nurse, as well as a home health administrator. He's certified by American Heart Association and American Red Cross to provide basic life support certification, as well as first aid, CPR, and AED training. Additionally, Derek is aligned with Mid-Atlantic OSHA Training Center to provide general industry OSHA and HIPAA training to medical and dental practices. Just a brief background on him: he realized a long-time dream when he opened Lasting Compression Safety Training Center in March of 2016 after providing training in community for several years. With the goal of touching lives and impacting the community, Lasting Compressions is proud to serve Greater Richmond area, offering classrooms and on-site training in churches, daycares, assisted living facilities, rehabs, scout troops, home health agencies, medical offices, and contractors, to name a few. Basically, Derek practices also out of RVA physical therapy, and he has his class scheduled, and you can always book his class online. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start this video. So today's presentation is a video presentation, because it's going to be hard to see Derek in a small screen demonstrating. So we thought we'll do it like a video presentation. So if there is any recording issues, please raise your hand or something. I'll come and I'll go ahead and make sure that it's going in. All right. You can raise your hand on this, Deb. There is actually an option for that. Where it says more, you can just go ahead and raise your hand there. It'll pop up for me. So there you go. I'm going to go ahead and hit start on the video.
What's going on? Allow ends and device of settings virus. Settings privacy and camera.
Can everybody see the video? Deb, can you see the video? Derek says he cannot. Hello?
Preston and Cheryl cannot see the video either.
You can't? Okay. Give me
No.
1 second. Give me 1 second. Let me start it again. Sorry.
Okay.
Thanks, Derek. Now?
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
I'll start from there. That's
Okay, something.
The audio is very, very low.
loud?
Low, L-O-W.
Hello. Okay. Still?
Yes, it's still very low.
It's at 100 for me.
Yeah, okay.
This is my first time doing this way, so give me 1 second. Audio. Okay, I'm going to start it again. Let me see. Can you hear it now?
No.
Still no? Huh. Man. I don't know where to even adjust it now. Because I'm at max right now.
Okay.
Because in my hand, I can hear it. I know like it's not coming up there. Let me see. Derek, any other way your video can be tweaked? Okay, I'm going to come back to this position.
I'm looking at the panel. I'm trying to figure out how to, I don't know how to turn it up anymore from my end because it's coming off your screen.
Yeah, it has to be me. Let's see.
I've never played a video on Zoom, so I don't know how to do the setting.
Yeah. Miss Cheryl, any different?
No.
Okay, so give me 1 second. I need to do something. I'm going to take it off and then come back on. I'm going to stop the share.
Okay.
Yeah, she's not.
The Rapid ID Mati Rajam was used to sign into the cloud and iPhone X. Okay, mommy.
Any luck?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, she's not alone. I can barely hear him too.
Okay. Let me see. I don't know if there's any other audio settings that I need to do. But see, when I really look at it, I'm at 100. I can't go any further.
Right. No, that was from his screen. Yeah, I can see your 100, but I'm not getting any feedback. I can't get the let's see.
Okay. Huh. Hi, Deb. Give me one
Hello.
second.
Hey, Deb.
Let me see.
Hey,
Let me
hi,
see if
Derek.
this is going to help.
It's a good day to sit outside. That's okay.
I know, but the thing is, I wish the volume is pretty good because I don't want people not to hear this one. This is like really good. I'm going to stop the recording. No, I cannot. Okay, let's see one more time. Last time I'm going to try to reduce the volume completely and go back again. Malai and Raj, give me a couple seconds. I'm going to share computer. Okay, I've shared the computer audio now. I'm going to turn it on. Let's see what happens.
System. Then we begin
Now?
our assessment.
Yes.
We're looking for signs of breathing.
Perfect.
You're looking for their chest to rise and
Learning.
fall. They might be belly breathing. You can see their mouth open and close. No longer than 10 seconds. For the most part, if somebody's not breathing, they don't have a pulse. As you get up speed time. Choking, finally, to wrap things up. Choking
Derek,
is
did it go
very
fast?
challenging. Don't have a pulse. As you
Okay.
and you're
Let's
very
see.
close. That's a scary statistic. The Heart Association recognizes 3 victims. You have an adult victim, a child victim, and an infant victim. I know this victim is a judgment call for me. They identify a victim as 1 to 55 pounds. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You'll see as we go forward, as we mix things up a little bit, regardless of which victim it is. The first thing you want to do whenever you see a potential victim is make sure that the scene is safe. If you're hurt, you're no good to this person. Don't go running towards a car accident out into traffic. Don't go into burning buildings. Once we've identified the scene is safe, we want to check for responsiveness. Technically, hey, are you okay? Can you hear me? In this infant, he doesn't understand what we're saying when we're yelling at him. So the way we check for responsiveness in an infant, we strike the bottom of his foot. There's this thing called a Babinski's reflex. I promise I didn't make that up. His toes will fan out when you hit the bottom of his foot. That's how we check for responsiveness in an infant. The scene is safe. The victim's unresponsive. Here's where we activate the emergency response system. Most people think call 911. It's a little bit more than that. If you're in public, identify someone to call 911, get somebody to go find an AED, and send someone to wait for the ambulance. If you're alone, you can initiate the emergency response system on your own. If you dial 911, put your phone on speaker and set it down, they've already pinned your location, dispatched an ambulance to you, and they're going to start talking you through all this. But in the community, someone call 911, somebody get me an AED, somebody go wait for the ambulance. If you read the book that goes along with this class, it doesn't say send someone to wait for the ambulance. I throw that in on my own. My father lives in Kentucky. My dad called me. He said, Derek, my coworker has a cardiac history, just went down. What do I do? I said, Dad, I am 400 miles away from you. Let me know how that works out for you. I'm just kidding, I didn't. I said, Dad, put your phone on speaker, set it down. I said, Dad, did you call 911? He said, yes. I said, where are you, Dad? He said, I'm in the basement of my office building. I said, Dad, send someone to the front of the building to wait for the ambulance. The average response time nationwide, downtown Richmond, where I'm at, to Scooby-Doo, Indiana, for EMS to get to the victim is 7 to 12 minutes. If you ask an EMT why there's a 5-minute window, they'll tell you they couldn't find the victim. GPS is only going to get them to the front door. Then they got to come into the building and try to find the victim. Always send someone to the building or to the wait for the ambulance. That's going to get them to the victim the fastest. The scene is safe. The victim's unresponsive. We activate the emergency response system. Then we begin our assessment. We're looking for signs of breathing. You're looking for their chest to rise and fall. They might be belly breathing. You can see their mouth open and close. No longer than 10 seconds. For the most part, if somebody's not breathing, they don't have a pulse. As you get up into some of the more advanced classes, more advanced trainings, we check for pulses. But we're only looking for signs of breathing in this class. Like I said, for the most part, if somebody's not breathing, they don't have a pulse. Someone who is unresponsive with no normal breathing and no pulse, they need CPR. When I say no normal breathing, sometimes when your body is shutting down, when you're checking out, your body will try to breathe for you. It's called agonal breathing. It sounds like gasping. Gasping is not normal breathing. I'm talking about slow, steady, 15, 18 breaths a minute. You can see their chest or belly rise, mouth open and close, unresponsive, no normal breathing and no pulse. They need CPR. We initiate CPR with chest compressions. Most people think CPR is about your heart. I'm here to tell you CPR is not about your heart. CPR is about your brain. Brain death starts at 4 minutes without oxygen, completely ends at 10 minutes. The reason we do CPR is to create oxygenated blood flow to the brain to prevent the onset of brain death. They can put you on a machine that'll breathe for you. They can put you on a machine that'll beat your heart. They cannot put you on a machine to bring your brain back. This is why we do CPR. Where do we put our hands when we do chest compressions? I tell people, if you come up from the bottom and down from the top, if you find their sternal notch at the bottom of their throat where all the bones start, the bottom of your rib cage, it's called your xiphoid process. Everything in between there is your breastbone. If they're freaking out and they can't get good hands, supported her bad wrist. That's how she did her chest compressions. I don't care how you hold your hands as long as you're getting a third of the depth of the chest. Back to these 3 victims though. A big 8-year-old, we're probably using 2 hands to do our chest compressions. On a smaller 3 or 4-year-old, we can probably get a third of the depth of the chest just using 1 hand. And on this infant, we're just using 2 fingers. In 2015, the Heart Association came up with this thing called hands-only CPR. That's what I'm teaching you today, hands-only CPR. They came up with hands-only CPR for 2 reasons, but the number 1 reason, I teach hands-only in churches and daycares, really heavily populated areas, and nobody's ever alone for very long. If you see somebody go down, say you're in church or the grocery store, you're at church, you're getting your worship on, and the old man next to you drops. If you see him go down, he has 8 minutes of oxygen in his blood right then and there. If you were to activate the emergency response system, send somebody to wait for the ambulance, and just do chest compressions, circulate that 8 minutes of oxygen, brain death starts 4 minutes after that. That's 12 minutes average response time for EMS, 7 to 12 minutes. They're here, he's their problem at that point. Second reason they came up with hands-only CPR, people are more inclined to initiate CPR if they don't have to put their mouth on this person's mouth, especially now that COVID's around. As this being a hands-only CPR class, that's the end of the class. Right there, point made, mic drop. If you don't remember anything that I say for the rest of this presentation, please just remember this much. Don't be a hero. Make sure that the scene is safe. Make sure this guy's not taking a nap in the park on his lunch break. Scream at the top of your lungs. Somebody help, call 911. Look for signs of breathing, no longer than 10 seconds. If he's not breathing, he probably doesn't have a pulse. Lower half of the breastbone as fast and as hard as you possibly can. Screaming bloody murder the whole time. Somebody who else is trained will be right behind you. I'm right behind you. I will do the rescue breaths. We will figure this out. Just initiate CPR. That's your takeaway. That's cardiac arrest. The Heart Association takes strokes very seriously. Depending on when you look, strokes are the third or fourth leading killer in the United States every year. They flip-flop back and forth with motor vehicle accidents. There are lifestyle changes you can make. There are medications you can take that prevent strokes from happening. But much like a cardiac arrest, if you can recognize the signs and symptoms of a stroke and get that person medical attention quickly, they can pretty much halt the progression of the stroke, maybe prevent any long-term effects, guarantee some quality of life. So they came up with this thing called stroke awareness. A stroke is a hypoxic event in your brain. It means no oxygen to your brain, no blood flow to your brain. Whatever part of your brain becomes oxygen starved, it starts to die, and it correlates to some part of your body. It could be hemiparesis, one left-sided or right-sided weakness. It could be impaired balance, speech, vision. So they came up with an acronym for stroke awareness. It's FAST, F-A-S-T. The F stands for face. If you think somebody's having a stroke, ask them to smile. Half their face might smile, this half might not move, or it might be drooping a little bit. The A stands for arms. Ask them to raise their arms up. One of their arms will come up, this arm might not move, it might drift around a little bit. It won't come up even with the other one. The S stands for speech. Ask them to repeat a simple sentence like row, row, row your boat. If it comes out at all, it'll come out garbled or in Chinese. And the T is for time. There's two types of strokes. Either type of stroke, if you can get that person to the hospital within an hour, 2 hours is the outside limit, they can pretty much, like I said, halt the progression of the stroke, prevent any long-term effects, and guarantee some quality of life. Face, arms, speech, time. I teach this class in a lot of assisted living facilities. One of the communities I teach in, the chef started complaining about feeling funny, so she sat down. They went to hand her a glass of water, it slipped right through her hand. She went to stand up, that leg didn't work. She had a hemorrhagic stroke, she had high blood pressure, she burst a vessel, the blood goes out to your skull, not to your brain. She was surrounded by nurses. They got her to the hospital. She was in for like 7-10 days. She came back, you wouldn't even know she had a stroke. Face, arms, speech, time. Choking, finally, to wrap things up. Choking is very challenging for me. It's one of the hardest first aid emergencies to stay calm during. It's very important that as a caregiver, you stay calm. But if somebody comes up to you and they say, I'm choking, what do? Nothing. If they're talking, they're breathing. Your instinct is to do back slaps. We don't want to do back slaps. That can dislodge an object and lower it further down the throat. You identify yourself as a caregiver. Hey, I know first aid. Let me help. Tell them stay calm. Put their hands on their head. Take a deep breath. Cough the object out. When you put your hands on your head, it opens up your rib cage. It expands your diaphragm. It allows you to take a deeper breath. If they're freaking out and they can't get their hands on their head, just come behind them. Grab their elbows and lift their arms up for them. Don't stand in front of them, because if that thing comes out, you're going to wear it. So go behind them and grab their elbows. Once they give you the universal sign for I'm choking, faces turning blue, eyeballs popping out of their head, they can't speak or make noise anymore, that's where we do what I'm not supposed to call the Heimlich maneuver. I'm supposed to call it abdominal thrusts. To do the abdominal thrust, you want to come behind the victim. We ball up our fist. We take the flat part of your fist. It goes 2 inches above their belly button. You grab your fist with the other hand. We pull into their abdomen, up under their rib cage. It's a hooking motion. You're trying to compress the lungs from behind the rib cage, force the air out, and expel the object. It works just about every time. Son, come here for a second, please. This is my son, Caden. He's going to demonstrate. He's my choking victim for me. There's a couple things to keep in mind when you're doing the Heimlich maneuver. First, if I'm doing abdominal thrust. If I'm doing abdominal thrust on my son and it doesn't work, he passes out. The last thing he's going to do before he loses consciousness is probably look for something to grab onto, probably my arm. I'm not sure if you can see underneath this table, but if my feet are square with his and he grabs my arm, we're both going down. So you have to put your foot in between theirs. You say spread your feet. Now, my weight is staggered. I got some leverage so I can pull back. And if he does pass out, I'm going to hug him to my body. I'm gonna hug him to my body and slide him to my leg to the down my leg to the floor. It's a controlled fall. Put your hands up like you're choking. Here's my trick for 2 inches above the belly button. If you take your spread your feet. There you go. If you take your elbows and you dig them into his side and find his hip bones and you come straight around from there, your hip bones line up with your umbilicus. Dig your elbows, everybody, shape, style, size. Find their hip bones, come straight around from there. In and up as hard as you can, as many times as you have to, till the object comes out. Thank you very much. In your choking infant, this one happens all the time. Shiny objects they're putting in their mouth, hot dogs that aren't cut up enough, grapes. We can't do the Heimlich maneuver on an infant. You can't get your fist up underneath the rib cage. I just got done saying we don't do back slaps, but in your responsive choking infant, he's turning blue, eyeballs popping out of his head, he can't make noise anymore. We want to support his little bobblehead and aim him down at the ground. We do 5 back slaps as hard as you can, then we turn him over and do 5 chest compressions, just like when we're doing CPR. We're squeezing the upper lobes of his lungs, trying to force the air out and expel the object. 5 back slaps to knock it loose, and 5 chest thrusts to push it out. That is the Heimlich maneuver in a responsive choking infant. As long as I've been teaching this class, I've never had anybody tell me they made it to the chest thrust. Object always comes out on the back slaps. Usually it's the first or second. I had one lady tell me her 6-year-old grandson was choking and wouldn't stand still long enough for her to do the Heimlich. So she jerked him up by his ankle, beat him on his back, and the object came out. I am not endorsing beating children, nor am I saying this is how the American Heart Association says we relieve foreign body airway obstruction. The moral of the story is upside down back slaps work. Lastly, I'm doing the Heimlich maneuver on my son. It doesn't work. He passes out. Now he is unresponsive, no normal breathing. He might have a pulse for a second, but not for long. He needs CPR. There's a modification for CPR on your unresponsive choking victim. The first thing I'm going to do, though, is activate the emergency response system. Up until now, he was standing right next to me. We were cooking hot dogs in the backyard. One of his favorite games to play is how few bites can I choke down a hot dog with. So I think he's down to 3 bites. He can eat a whole hot dog in 3 bites. He thinks that's 2 bites. Excuse me. He thinks that's very funny. And I'm going to say I don't know CPR when he hits the floor. You know, that's my comeback as a dad. Probably not very good parenting. But so he's eating a hot dog. He starts choking. He passes out. Now he's unresponsive. No normal breathing. He might have a pulse for a second, not for long. He needs CPR. There's a modification for CPR on your unresponsive choking victim. I did the Heimlich maneuver on him like 6 or 10 times before he passed out. We initiate CPR with chest compressions. I'm squeezing the upper lobes of his lungs, forcing air out. If we were doing rescue breaths, or every 30 compressions, after 30 compressions, we want to take a look in his mouth to see if we can find the obstructing object. If you can see it, go get it. If you can't see it, we used to do blind finger sweeps. No more blind finger sweeps. They determine that triggers your swallow reflex and the peristalsis. Your throat muscles will push that thing back down into your throat. No more blind finger sweeps. If you can't see the rescue or the object, straight back to compressions, unless you're doing rescue breaths, which is a little bit more advanced training. But if you can't see, every 30 compressions, we're going to check for the obstructing object. If you can see it, go get it. If not, straight back to compressions. That's a very abbreviated CPR, stroke awareness, and choking presentation. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call me. It's 804-305-4001. Visit our website, schedule a class, schedule a training. We have a classroom in the West End. We come to facilities. Most of our trainings are on site. www.rvacpr.com. Thanks for your time. Be safe. Let's love one another.
Sorry for the initial audio issues. I think, Derek, you've covered some of the important points. I know your classes are longer than this, And of course, that's for certification purpose and stuff. So the idea behind Derek being here today was mainly to help, your loved one in the first 8 minutes after like choking, after like having some, unresponsiveness and things like that. So that was the reason, we kept it short and sweet today. But here's Derek for you guys. He's on the screen. Any questions you have, go ahead and ask him now. Let me see the chat. It looks like, Derek, no questions yet. Let's just give some time. And meanwhile, we do that. Guys, this is Weekend Wellness Season 1, Series 16 presentation. We are continuing to go with this for another couple more weeks. I have presenters lined up. Next weekend, it's going to be on Saturday. It's a nutritionist presenting. And then on Sunday, it's going to be a dentist again. So this is our second dentist coming in this series. And I think, Deb, you have a question?
No question. I was just going to say, if anyone has, a need for one, Derek's excellent at what he does. I'd strongly recommend it.
Thanks, Deb.
Thanks, Deb.
Yeah, I think we are all trained by Derek. So yeah, I know some of his examples and his classes and stuff. So I started laughing halfway through listening to them, because I'm in the clinic. I can hear him. You can hear Derek anywhere in that clinic if he's taking a class. So I know all these words by heart by now. So I can take his class without in a heartbeat. So
Thanks very much for the opportunity, y'all.
thanks, Derek. Thank you so much. I think everybody, no questions so far. I think it was very straightforward, simple presentation, and it was very informative because those are like some of those signs where we need hands-on CPR before we can activate emergency response, So.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Derek.
You're welcome.
Very
Thank
informative.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. And then on the finishing note, I'll see you guys all next week.
Yes.
On Saturday at 4, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.